Thanks very much, Chris. And I have the very unenviable task of trying to tie together the whole range of presentations that we've had today. But I would just like to start by saying I think that Fit New South Wales is a really inspiring event. It's now our third Fit New South Wales, and the thing that I think is most exciting about this event is that it brings together people that don't always talk to each other, and I've learnt some really interesting things today and just realised that there's so much happening across the state at both the state level as well as at the local level where we're working towards similar goals. Well, in fact, I don't know, our goals are different, but our outcomes converge. And I think that that's a really important thing for us to be thinking about in the way that we do join up some of the work that we do, but also how we recognise and celebrate that sort of vast range of work that's happening, which will move towards more livable communities. And my interest is health, and we know that more livable communities have a health impact as well. But we also learnt from developers that more livable communities also have an economic benefit for developers, and so on and so forth. So I think that interconnectedness is really important for us to reflect on. Our first speaker, Stephen, we learnt from, well, I actually thought, well, there's a new definition of mean streets that I learnt today from Stephen, where he's talking, oh, that's a bit mean that we do this. But the thing is that about that key message of road design is not street design really sort of jumped out at me. Similarly, in terms of, when we're looking at making a good place, the idea that the purpose and function of what you're trying to create should come first and then the form follows. I suppose that's an adage, but it's, I think, an important one as well. I also think that sort of the turning that sort of triangle on its head where pedestrians, cyclists, public transport and commuters gets looked at in that way rather than the opposite way is a useful thing for us to reflect on as well. From other speakers, we heard about changing mindsets, as well as looking for tools and standards to help people to put these grand visions into practice, and heard some very practical ways in which that had happened. And then also at a state level, we heard about what's happening for Transport New South Wales, which really is transformative. And again, from being in the health sector, actually getting some visibility of that broad range of work, it's very exciting, knowing that that we have some really great infrastructure that's coming on board, and it's not just in a city. It's also it's across the metropolitan area, but also in regional rural areas. One thing that struck me around the presentation from Anissa was talking about the 2 kilometres, the 2 kilometre catchment for walking and the 5 kilometre catchment for cycling, is that it sort of has a connection, I suppose, in health where we're interested in overweight and obesity, and the 2 kilometre and 5 kilometres very achievable in terms of being an active traveller when you think, well, that's not so far, I can manage that. But from a health perspective, we know, and this will connects into the diabetes comment that was made, that really small changes in weight make a significant difference in terms of chronic disease. So a 2 kilogram reduction in weight can lead to a 30% reduction in diabetes risk. That's right, isn't it, Glenn? So again, it just shows that small changes like the 2 kilometre active travel or a 2 kilogram weight loss can have really profound impacts. And I'm looking at it from the health lens as well. Then we also heard a number of very practical examples of how some of these visions are being put into practice. So through the layering for the Western Sydney grid, as well as the Healthy Towns Challenge, and then what's happening in the Pittwater Council as well. And it's sort of these actions that happen. We have the state level work with big policy levers, but then we have the local action as well, which is really important to lead to change. So I suppose my take-home message is that there's a lot that we've heard today that's happening at different levels. Fit New South Wales is a really good opportunity for us to come together and meet each other, be inspired by different ways of thinking, think, oh, I really need to be connecting up what I do with somebody else's work as well. And the thing that jumped out for me was that in terms of opportunities for collaboration, we're all wanting to work with councils. Transport for New South Wales is working with councils, Health wants to work with councils, certainly the planners and developers work with councils. And so the community planning process and the integrated planning and reporting framework for us is a really good opportunity to engage with councils, and so PCAL will be looking at this as one of its priorities over the next 2 years. And so I think that for me the take-home message is that we need to be talking to others in about the way that we want to use or work with others to achieve aims that are mutually reinforceable and to meet our own goals as well. So, with 4 minutes to spare, I'd like to thank you for your participation. I'd like to thank PCAL and the team for putting this really excellent session together, and particularly Peter McHugh, because it's a session like this. There's a lot of organisation to get it together, but I think it's been a really great collaboration, and we look forward to seeing the outcomes of Fit New South Wales 2015 and to seeing you all again in 2016.